Dr. Derek Molacek, applied faculty for the North Texas Online Low Brass Camp, and on the faculty at Iowa Western Community College in Council Bluffs, Iowa. For this instruction, I will be talking about bass trombone Etude 2 for the TJEA All-State and All-Region auditions. This etude was composed by Alex Parker at Baylor University and is a ballad with a range of quarter note equals 60 to 65 for the tempo. Straight eighths and sixteenths, so it's meant as a rock ballad rather than just simply a jazz swing ballad. So be precise with your 16th notes. I will now demonstrate this etude for you on the bass trombone. My chosen tempo for this etude is quarter note equals 62. To that end, we're going to talk about those a little bit, specifically at measure 10 through measure 12. Rhythms need to be precise there, so there is a tendency that most trombonists have to rush because we see notes that are 16th notes and we get scared. Do not get scared. In this case, we need to be as precise as possible because it's a slower tempo. We cannot speed up, we cannot really slow down. If we slow down too much, it's going to drag and the feel's going to drag quite a bit and not sound nearly as tight. If we rush, then it's going to sound hastened. We need to keep it on tempo to also keep the level of the emotional aspect. There are no dynamics nor specific articulation markings to speak of in this etude, so we have to use our own discretion for this. The tune I would recommend listening to as a basis would be Loverman. Here are some recordings that I recommend. Now, with regards to phrasing and slurring and separated, that can be debatable, especially given that there are no indications whether to play it smooth or not. So we can either approach it from the first 4 bars like this, or like this, separated. I recommend the former. And the reason why I recommend the former is because I think it sounds clearer and I think it gets across more of the emotional, expressionist sides of this particular etude. The next question that is going to come to mind is a vibrato. And that can be tricky, especially when dealing with passages on a low instrument. Not just because it's slow, but also because we are going down in the basement. And once you get down fairly low, as this C will demonstrate, it's really kind of hard to make out vibrato when you're down in that register. So use it sparingly and use it when you are playing B flat and above. And in this case, we would use slide vibrato. Do not go too far out, nor go too far in. We play from roughly about here to about here, so it's more like that. And use more of the triplet vibrato that you might be seeing on, say, a classical passage when you are performing classical literature. For jazz, though, we tend to want to use slide vibrato not just simply for the sound, but for the effect that it brings. And that is true if you go back to the videos of the old Glenn Miller Band, the old Jimmy Lunceford, Count Basie, Duke Ellington. Now, for a lot of those old big bands, they used it because of the record and the way that the recording was being made. But when it came to actually performing live, it looked a lot better to the audience if they used an actual slide visible vibrato, especially for the trombones. We don't need to utilize it too much here because we are thinking more of a rock ballad rather than a swing ballad. So we don't want to overemphasize the vibrato. That would make it sound a lot older than what this piece is suggesting. Watch for intonation accuracy specifically. Once we get down to the B flat, the pedal B flat, and the B natural, we need to be very conscious of where those are on the horn. When we get that low, it's a little bit harder to make out, and we tend to get a little complacent. I would recommend not only playing this etude with a recording that is provided, but also I would recommend checking out some of the other videos of performers playing this etude online and seeing if you can best line up with them as well. This is an exercise I recommend because it teaches ear training and because it teaches good listening skills. When we are playing in an ensemble, we need to be mindful of our intonation and how we sound next to other players, whether we're playing a different part in the section or playing the same part within a section. By playing in unison along with someone else playing this etude, we can learn to listen and adapt so that those two players or more players sound exactly the same. And that's why I recommend checking out some of the other videos of this etude online. The last point I want to bring up is articulation of the quarter notes. Since there are no articulations written in, it is customary in jazz to assume that all quarter notes are going to be long. Without an articulation marking, they are supposed to be played as long. In this case, we play them long. This is a ballad, this is slow, this is not meant to be really showy in terms of longs and shorts. I will demonstrate on bar 7 what I mean. Here is the passage when the quarter notes are played long. Here is the passage when the quarter notes are played short. Which one do you think has the better value for being the emotional expressive ballad? It's going to be the first one. With dynamics, watch for where the climaxes are. Think about the end of the phrase and think about how you build up to it and then come down off of the phrase. The coming down is usually the trickier part because if we build too much, we come down rather suddenly when we run out of air. If we don't build enough, we have nowhere where it's going. So bar 10, for example, those last two notes of the bar would be where your climax of the phrase is, at least for that point. And then you build into bar 11. The B flat on bar 11 is going to be the climax overall for those 3 to 4 bars that are there. Bars 4 and 5, the highest note, which is the G above the staff, is going to be the climax. I wish you the best of luck on your audition and have a wonderful day.